What if financial freedom is at your fingertips? Today, we're going to have a conversation about visualizing what financial freedom can look for each of us individually. Because if we don't visualize it and we don't dream it and we don't really believe it's ever going to happen, it's not, right? It's like trying to get to another state on a road trip without a map, right? So today's conversation is going to be all about visualizing what financial freedom can look like for you. Welcome to the Female Finance Collective podcast, where we encourage women to have open and honest conversations about all things money.
I'm Jen, and I struggled for many years with debt and feeling financially overwhelmed, so I know how frustrating it can be.
And I'm Mary Lee. As a financial planner, I've had the privilege of working with hundreds of women who've transformed their financial lives.
Hey, I'm Sybil. I built my dream life traveling the world and creating financial freedom on a teacher's salary.
Let's start the money conversation. So I love the idea of visualization because I think that there was a lot of time in my life where I would set goals. Let's be real, I probably still do this to some extent, but where I would set goals or think about something I really wanted to work on, but I never put that visualization piece into practice. So I didn't imagine what it would look like when I achieved that goal, how I would feel, what kinds of things would be happening, how I would change, like how things for me would change when I achieve that goal. And that, I think that visualization piece is really important, and a lot of us forget about it. And so I love that we're going to talk about that today in terms of financial freedom because, Sybil, you and I have talked about how a lot of people don't even think financial freedom is an option for them. They just feel like nobody in my family's ever had financial freedom. We've always, um, struggled financially. This is just how we are. This is just how it's going to be and how it has to be. And some people just don't feel like they have the capability or the opportunity to create financial freedom for themselves. And that is true for some people, for sure, right? But it isn't true for everybody. And there are a lot of things that we can do to get ourselves to financial freedom. So I guess my first question, and since you're the person on the podcast with me, Sybil, my question is for you. Like, how do you think people should go about envisioning their financial freedom? Like, what does that even mean to you when I say that?
Yeah, well, first of all, financial freedom is super personal, right? It's going to mean something so different to me than it is to you and than it is to all of the beautiful women out there listening to this podcast today. And so, therefore, it actually makes sense that visualizing your financial freedom is a really important step. Because if it's highly personal, you're not going to find the playbook online on how to meet financial freedom because you're going to think that's not for me, that's not for me, right? And so to me, it's really like doing that dreaming and picturing, like you said at the beginning, how do I want to feel? Who's around me? What does it mean as far as my income? What does it mean as far as my expenses? What does it mean as far as my investments, right? I need to be able to picture all of these pieces to know what financial freedom would feel like and be like for me, like kind of as an end point, my destination, although I know better than saying it's a destination because it's definitely going to be a journey because I know just like with anything else with our finances, we keep elevating, we keep wanting more or spending more or saving more, right? So but like kind of where's a 3 to 5 year picture, right? A visualization is a picture in our mind. In 3 to 5 years, what does my life look like? And therefore, what kinds of decisions do I need to make with my money to get me to that 3 to 5 year visualization? Because we really need to dream and imagine ourselves and put ourselves in that present moment. So for me, I think about visualizations as I am living in a property in Panama part-time and the United States part-time. That's financial freedom to me in a certain amount of time, right? So I had to picture myself there in that moment. Who am I with? How does it feel? And that is huge for my motivation to want to get to that point, right? And we know with money, we need motivation because we have to make everyday decisions.
That's right. I think I I think this is just such an interesting thing to think about. The more we've talked about this before, but the more that we're like talking about it now, the more interesting I think it is. So like financial freedom to me, like right now, I think because of my age, so I'm 50, I would very much like to not be working. I would love to be able to travel whenever I wanted without, accumulating debt. I would love to, for my husband to not be working. I would love to be able to spend more time with family and friends. Like there are things that financial freedom looks like to me. Um, for some people, you might think financial freedom and you're like, oh my gosh, if I could just work one job, that would be amazing. Like if I could just work my 40 hours a week and like genuinely enjoy my weekends and my evenings with my family, like that would feel financially free to me. So it is going to be very different for people, and I also think at different stages in your life that vision of freedom will change for people. So if you would have asked me 20 years ago, I think I would have been like, no, I'm not ready to not work. Like, I enjoy working. I enjoyed teaching. I enjoyed doing all of those things. So, financial freedom, I think, for me then would be much different than it is for me now. But the power is taking the time to actually, like, close your eyes or go for a walk or whatever it is that helps you kind of imagine and think to yourself, if I felt financially free right now, what would that look like? What
Yeah.
would I be doing? How would I be spending my time? I think that's step one, right? To visualize it and to be able to write down or picture exactly what your financial freedom is. And then you can use that as your guide to moving forward.
Yeah, exactly like that road trip, right? Like I know where I'm going to go first. And I picture that, and we're going for a wedding, and we're going to, spend this amount of time, and blah blah blah. And then we can start to use that as our roadmap to get there, right? But really, visualizing financial freedom is that roadmap, and it can conclude a lot of things. Like you said, like right now, college is a huge expense for us, right? So, what does financial freedom look like knowing that that is a part of our lives? And I honestly, I don't know if you agree with this, Jen, or not, but I honestly like to just go big. I say go big or go home on those visualizations because I'm training my brain to think it's possible. You are literally telling your brain does not know the difference between something you're imagining and something that's real to a certain extent, right? And so I think people that actually probably visualize even more than I do as a real hardcore practice, they probably find some good success with it because we're honestly training our brain of this is the life I'm going to be living in 5 years or whatever it is. But I absolutely agree. It changes drastically. It changes like even when, unfortunate events happen, like that have been happening to me financially recently. And it's like, okay, that steps it back a little bit. But it doesn't mean that I did anything wrong by dreaming up that big dream and telling my brain that you're going to get there. It just might take a little bit longer now, right? Like, but I completely agree. We really just need to think about like where we want to be, and the reason we would want to do that is really one of the reasons is really that motivation to keep us moving forward, to keep us hopeful, right? Because if we don't feel like we can ever get to what financial freedom feels like for us, we lose hope. And then, of course, we're not going to be able to get there or take action, unfortunately. When we lose hope, it's so much harder. We're working against our nervous system at that point.
Right. I think the visualization piece is the key to staying motivated. It's like your why, right? This
Yeah.
is just a different form of creating your why. So for some people, their why might be so I can spend more time with their kids. For some people, their why might be so I can travel more. Whatever it is, use that visualization to create that reason to stay motivated. It's easier for me to skip takeout one night if I can think I'm going to put that extra $25 in my account for travel. It's
Exactly.
easier for me to stay motivated on my financial goals if I know what it is I'm working for. If I have like a visualization, a picture, even if you need to create like a board where you actually put pictures of
Yep.
what that financial freedom looks like, and then use that as your reminder to stay motivated and stay on track to those goals. And then I think the biggest piece, and maybe we're talking about this out of order, I'm not sure, but you have to identify what you need to do now to get yourself from where you are to where you want to be. And those action steps, I think, are really the key. So, is it that you need to make more money? Is it that you need to spend less? Is it that you need to reevaluate your values and make sure you're just spending with your values? Like sometimes it's huge decisions, and we talk about this. I think there's a module in the Female Finance Collective where I talk about like, do you need to like move? Are you spending way too much money on housing and you literally need to move to, spend less? Or
That was me last
or
year.
is it something small like, hey, I just have to start cooking at home more often. I just have to stop, you
Yeah.
know, whatever it is, like some little thing that you can little shifts. And for some of us there are huge changes we need to make or could make, and for others there's small things. But the thing is you've got to figure out what steps you need to take or what steps you could take to get you from where you are now to that big dream, to that financial freedom that you're envisioning. And that I think is also why we're saying you need to do this on a regular basis because,
Mhm.
you know, you might take all these steps and start to get yourself on the track, and then you need to stop. Make sure you're still on the track you want to be on, right? Make sure there isn't anything else you need to change to keep yourself going in the right direction. I think sometimes we can get lost in like, oh, well, I'm just working on this, I'm working for this, and then we forget like, okay, wait, is that still really what I want? Is that
Right. Be flexible with it, right? And
Mhm.
know that it doesn't go like this. You don't set that visualization and then you have this perfect line to it. Like, at least not for me.
No.
Like, it's very unlikely, right? So, being flexible and adaptable with those steps and those mini goals to get there. But I completely agree. Like, those action steps of actually doing the things that will get you to the goal or to closer to what you've visualized is really, really powerful. And I've found it success with that in my own life as well. Yeah.
So I think in summation, right? We just think that visualization is a really valuable tool. We think that not enough of us are visualizing, imagining, picturing what our financial freedom looks like. And we just really want to encourage you to take some time to picture what that would mean to you and what you would be doing and how it would feel and how you'd be spending your time. And then think about that as your way to stay motivated on the steps that you have to take to get there, right? Because if we have somewhere we want to be, it is much easier to make those changes, and sometimes they're sacrifices, right?
Mhm.
Those hard decisions. It's easier when we know where we're trying to be. So we would love to know what your financial freedom is. There's no right or wrong. Everybody's is different. But we would love if you would share it with us. So you can leave a comment here. You can send us an email, whatever works for you. But we would love to know, what is your financial freedom? What are you working for? So keep us posted. Maybe we'll share some of ours coming up, like some of the things that we're really visioning for ourselves and what we're really working on. And we will check in with you again next week.